Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the JBDC Virtual Biz Zone for Tuesday, April 19, 2022. Happy belated Easter. I hope everybody had a great weekend and that you are ready and raring to go as it relates to, continuing the development and growth of your separate businesses. As you would already know, because I'm seeing some very familiar names in the room. My name is Sansia Campbell, and I'm the Public Relations and Events Coordinator here at the Jamaica Business Development Corporation. Now, we have been on a quest in the Virtual Biz Zone for the past couple of months, talking about different areas in business development. And of course, we want to go into some of those uncharted territories, as we would call them, some of the things that persons don't normally get an opportunity to talk about or to explore. And so what we're going to be talking about this morning is hiring. Because when your business starts to grow, then you're going to get to the place where you need to hire additional staff. You need to get some experts, and you need to get certain expertise within your organization so that you can grow the business from one stage to the next. And so we have with us this morning an expert in the field of human resources, and she's going to be sharing with us under the theme, hiring to scale a team for your dream. We're thinking about how it is that you are going to identify the right talents, the right skills, the right fit, which is crucial for hiring. But she's going to give you all of that information. So we have with us this morning Ms. Joni-Gaye Cawley. And Ms. Cawley is a human resource consultant. She's a practitioner, HR practitioner, with over 17 years experience in the field of HR. She holds the designation Senior Professional in HR from the HR Certification Institute in the United States. She also has a Master's of Business Administration from the University of Wales and a Bachelor of Business Administration in Human Resources as a major with a marketing minor from the University of Technology. She has served as Group HR Manager for Amber Alert and has also worked with organizations such as DHL and Grace Kennedy. She's an experienced facilitator, presenter, and moderator, and she is also on the board of directors for the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce and Woman Inc. And she's also a member, very importantly, of the Human Resource Management Association of Jamaica. And I want to pause right here to extend our gratitude to her Marge that we reached out to blindly, and they put us in contact with Ms. Cawley, and she has been such a gem from day one. Very pleasant, just ready to come in and assist small businesses, because at the end of the day, we are all concerned about the development, the growth and development of our country. And if businesses progress and grow and contribute to the economy, naturally, it's going to augur well for what's happening in our country. Just as a reminder, remember we are recording this activity. This session is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel. Of course, Ms. Cawley will take your questions. She will share with you how she's gonna do that. But I beg of you, just tune in, write the questions down so that you don't forget them, and just be as interactive in the presentation as possible. I promise you this one is going to be really, really interesting. So without any further ado, it's over to you, Ms. Cawley.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and welcome everyone to this presentation. I'm going to share my screen now with you. All right, so we're going to be discussing hiring to scale a team for your dream. Now, as a small business owner myself, I know the challenges that I face and that my clients face in hiring, especially when they're growing rapidly. This is what I'm going to be talking to you about this morning. Please write your questions down. I'll stop along the way for you to ask your questions, but this is so much information. It's going to be so rich that you need to have all your notes and you need to have all your questions. Make sure you ask them. Feel free to ask them. So what do we want to achieve by the end of this presentation? Well, Jim Collins said, great vision without great people is irrelevant. As business owners, you have a great vision for your business. You want to expand, you might want to go overseas. The world is your oyster, but without great people, how can you achieve this? By the end of today's session, you'll be able to identify the stage your company is in right now in your business life cycle, explain key principles in hiring, avoid hiring mistakes, and these hiring mistakes can be costly. Also, you need to build a good employer brand. Why would people want to come to work with you if you don't have a good reputation out there? So we need to build our employer brand. Develop a hiring strategy. You're going to learn to do that and understand and explain the hiring process. So let's get right into it. In every business, there are stages that it goes through. You need to identify your hiring needs as you move through these different stages. Stage one is a startup. As a startup, you're going to have different hiring needs from the growth phase, maturity phase, and then the renewal, rebirth, or decline phase. We're going to explain each stage now. For startup, your employees are wearing many hats. You yourself as a business owner might be the accountant, the HR person who hires people, the marketing person. You are everything when you're starting out because it's you alone or you and a few close friends. Few job descriptions and job titles exist. Are you in this stage right now? Just think about it. Growth phase. In this phase, you're expanding. You might be opening new locations all over the island. You need to hire more employees. In this stage, you need to invest in your employees and empower them to take ownership of both their internal processes that you've developed and relationships with your clients. Are you in this stage right now? What about the maturity stage? At this stage, you as the business owner can relax a little bit because you have professional management, a professional management team in place who can run the day-to-day business operations. You might be needed when there is an emergency that demands your attention, but apart from that, you can step back a little. Hiring has slowed down at this phase, and you're thinking about employee retention. You're expanding less rapidly. Is your business in this stage right now? Renewal or decline? This depends on you. Are you going to allow your business to decline, or will you renew your business by getting new talent in, looking for different markets to expand in? What will you do? You still need to consider hiring at this stage, depending on your decision. Most new entrepreneurs are eager to expand as quickly as possible. You get in the market and you want to grow because you want to see profits, you want money to come in. They see growth as the fuel necessary to succeed. Nothing is wrong with that. But to achieve this growth and this success, you need to invest more resources into the business. But if you aren't careful, and you expand it too quickly, it can work against you. So how can you scale up your hiring efforts without running into long-term problems that could threaten the business? When should you really hire? How do you determine when to hire? Well, it's important that small businesses get the timing just right and hire when it's needed. If an employer hires too soon, then you're going to be paying out too much money in salaries and your profits and cash flow will dry up. But if you wait too long as an employer to bring on a new worker, then you might not have the capacity to fulfill the demands of the market, and unfinished work will start piling up. So you need to look carefully at that. You should hire new employees when there's enough work to demand additional help. You don't want to have people coming in, sitting idly throughout the day, nothing to do. When your financial situation is stable enough to manage the additional cost of a new employee, then you can think of hiring. Only then should you think of hiring. Why hire? Why not just stay with my current staff and just use them to do everything? Well, there might be a skills gap. The current team might not possess all the skills needed to take the company to the next level. The capacity gap might exist. They can't work fast enough, can't produce fast enough to meet your growing consumer demand. Also, there might be new opportunities that your business wants to pursue. New products, new services that you want to launch. If you're already busy with current business responsibilities, then you need to hire more employees because of the increased workload that will come and your new products and your new services. Some key principles you need to consider when hiring are: 1, hire for talent, and not just for the specific activity that you want to be done. Like you want this workload to be minimized. So you're just gonna hire someone who can do admin work, let's say, only that. No, it's critical that you hire someone who has the potential to do so much more in the future. Does this person have the training necessary or experience that you need today and in the future as your business grows? You don't want to be hiring and then terminating this person's services because they can't manage the increased demands of the future. So look at that when you're hiring, please. Also, in hiring for talent, when you're expanding your company, it's not just about hiring people who have the experience, but also people with the skills and talents needed to generate new ideas. Not just generate the ideas, but carry out those ideas. In the interview, you can get a sense of where the person is, where the person's headspace is, by asking certain questions. For example, if we were to decide that we want this new service, how would you go about making sure that it goes to market in the shortest possible time? Ask those questions and see what the new person is thinking before you hire them. You want to find experts in certain areas of the company. For example, if you want to improve your online success, you want to be online, you want to enter the e-commerce space, hire a talented web designer who can take your website to the next level and make it stand out from your competitors. So don't just look at what you're doing now, look at what you need. We've said this before, what you need to go to the next level. If you need more presence on social media, consider hiring a social media coordinator, whatever you want to call that person, social media officer. But just look at what you need in the future and hire for that right now. Hire for the team as well. What does that mean? You already have a team in place. If it's even 5 employees or 3, you already have persons working with you. You don't want to introduce someone into the team who is talented, yes, but they have different values, and that will tear the team apart. If whoever you're bringing in is not a good fit for the team itself that's there already, that will be an issue. Rejecting a candidate who is wrong for your team during the interview process is much less expensive, and it's wasteless time than dealing with the results later. So from the get-go, if the person is not going to gel with your team, please do not hire that person. As interviewers, business owners, we need to identify and eliminate bias. Persons might have a bias toward a certain race or skin tone, gender or age. You might, as a business owner, say, oh, I don't want too many older people in my establishment. I want persons between the ages of 20 and maybe 30, 35. Is that really necessary, or is it just your bias? Think about eliminating these biases, please. Another key principle in hiring is to treat candidates with respect. These candidates have friends and family and current co-workers likely who they're going to be talking to about their interview experience, their experience with your company. If you don't provide a great experience, it's likely that all these contacts of your candidate will hear about it. And bad news travels faster than good news. A bad experience can not only lose you this candidate, but might also prevent their entire network, entire social media network as well, from interviewing with you. Your goal should be to have every candidate walk away from the interview wanting to work with your company, even if you decide not to take that person, but at least the person had such a good experience that they want to work with your company. There are hiring mistakes, and I want you to know what they are so you can avoid them. In times of hypergrowth, your company is growing rapidly. You may feel pressure to take risks in order to meet your growth targets. You might say, okay, this person doesn't have all that I need, but because I need someone quickly, let me just take that person. Or your cousin might know this person, this friend, and say, oh yeah, man, that person can do sales. Just hire them and they'll work out. But please be careful about those referrals. We'll speak about referrals a little later. They can be very good, of course, but you have to put those referrals through the process, the hiring process. There are enough distractions in your organization already without the added disruption of having to terminate someone who you just hired who is just not working out. Terminations will happen, but when you make sure that you do the hiring process correctly, it's less likely that you'll have to terminate quickly. Other hiring mistakes made by startups. The problem you face when scaling a startup is that you naturally tend to hire people who are similar to one another from the very start. Nothing is wrong with that. We spoke about the culture and the fit, but if you continue on this path, not diversifying at all, then you'll find out that later on, you won't have the fresh ideas from different types of persons from different backgrounds, and your company will be just one homogeneous type of company, just one track-minded, one way of thinking. So yes, it's good to maintain the culture, but also diversity is so important. People with other traits and backgrounds will come to you if you show that you are open. But if you have only employees who are young people, older ones who are more experienced might look at your company and say, no, I'm a bit too old for that crowd. Let me just not bother to apply. So it's so important to have diversity. At this point, I know I've made certain comments. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to unmute and ask a question or type a question in the chat? And I'm not sure why I'm not seeing, but Sanchez, please check for me in the chat. Okay, okay, one question in the chat. All right, great. All right, let us continue since we're all good. Problems with hiring too quickly. You need to expand, you need people in like tomorrow. If it's expensive to hire, if you're suddenly tripling your staff with little groundwork or revenue to support that increase, your business might not be in a position to survive long term. Think about affordability. Can you really afford it? And we're not talking about just salaries. If you want to be an employer of choice, it's good to offer benefits, like basic benefits, health insurance, life insurance, pension. Some offer lunch allowance, uniform allowance, motor vehicle upkeep at certain levels, the gas card, wellness, gym membership, subsidy. Okay, so think about the cost of hiring. Poor fits. We don't want a poor hiring decision. In a rush to fill seats, you may lower your hiring standards, ultimately ending up with candidates who don't quite fit, either because they don't have the training necessary or the experience, or they don't align with your company's culture. Culture retention is another thing. Establishing bigger teams and/or teams in new locations can dilute your culture if you're not careful. Right now, you have a core central team that embodies your values and can self-sustain your vision for the business. But if you bring in too many people too quickly, the persons who are there already will not have the time to show the new ones what the culture is like and get it infused into them. What will happen? Your culture will quickly fade away. Another mistake is being too slow when you're making hiring decisions. We spoke about hiring too quickly. What about hiring too slowly? When you want to grow and expand your company, hiring the right candidates is key. We know that. While the hiring process can certainly be long and it can be a detailed process, you don't want to prolong it more than necessary. Like by having 4 interviews. You do the screening interview, then you have the first interview with HR. If you have an HR consultant, let's say, then you have another interview with you and somebody else, and then another interview with a board member. It might be dragging the process out too long. And when you're hiring to expand your company, you want to move quickly, because what will happen is that the ideal candidate will get another job elsewhere. And when you're ready to make the offer, let's say, no, I'm sorry, I followed another opportunity. All right, so if there are no questions at this point, we'll jump right into building an employer brand. Why would a candidate want to work for your company? And I'm seeing a question. How do HR managers view potential hires that have been out of the workforce for quite a long time, such as more than 5 years? I have seen that. And how I view it is that there must be a good reason for it. I'll ask what the reason is. And one reason I have heard a candidate say is she was out of the workforce taking care of her parent who was ill. The parent has since passed away and she is now re-entering the workforce.
Joni, let me follow. I'm gonna type it in the chat.
Okay. All right. So if someone is out of the workforce for a while, if it's even a long time, just ask why. And if it's a really good reason, why not? Why not hire the person if he or she has the necessary skills? Are those applicants looked at more favorably versus? Are those applicants looked at more favorably versus? So continue, I'm just seeing versus. One who has been working for a while. So it comes back to the reason. If the reason is a very good reason, then you'll understand. But during that time, what was the person doing? Only taking care of the ill parent, or was that person doing online classes, something, getting a certificate in something, getting your PMP certification? If it is that the candidate was doing something during that time, then fine. Yes, you're looked on favorably, but it comes back to bias now. The person who was taking care of an ill parent has the necessary qualifications, might not be looked at in an unfavorable light versus those who have been working for a while now, in my experience.
Okay,
How
so
this
I see another question in the chat.
Right, so Sarika is asking, how do you assess persons with an adverse background, with adverse background checks, such as walking off a previous job? I had this case once. I'm not telling you to do what I did, but I asked why. The reason was an okay reason. The person was disrespected. I gave that person a chance. I gave her a chance. She was so grateful, stayed with that employer for about 6 years. She's now somewhere else. But if it is walking off a previous job for, there's no good reason for walking off a job, but I'd use something like, if you find out the person stole something from the previous employer, then I would not take a chance with that person. I'm being honest with you. If the person stole, was convicted of stealing, I wouldn't take a chance. But another but is, what about persons who have been convicted, they've served time in prison, and they're out now and want to rebuild their lives? Would you hold that against them? I am saying, I'm saying what I would do. I would, under certain circumstances, and if it is certain companies, not places where you can steal things from. If it's a service organization, I would give that person an opportunity to prove him or herself. I wouldn't place that person in a company where, like a supermarket, then that you can steal things from easily. That would be my bias. And I'm being honest with you all, right? I hope you appreciate that honesty, but it just depends on the situation. How do you hire? All right, so there was another question. To follow up on that, how about an employee that had brought up their previous employer to the labor board due to unfair hiring? If that person thinks he or she was unfairly hired and went to the Ministry of Labor, unfairly fired, I wouldn't hold that against him. It's your right. It's your right too. Wouldn't hold that against the person at all. How do you hire to scale on potential opportunities? For example, contract in the pipeline, a business plan. All right, if you have a contract in the pipeline, you know the skills that you need if you are successful in getting that contract. Yes, you do interviews and so on, but when you reach the stage where you want to make the offer, you can explain, or even earlier, explain that I am going through this interview process because I have something in the pipeline, a contract in the pipeline. I expect to hear whether I'm approved in the next 6 weeks. If it's approved, I want you to come on board in the capacity of so and so. Are you willing to wait for 6 weeks? Right, Sarika? So just be upfront with it. Oh, great. Just be honest, upfront with the person. All right, so that was a good question and answer session. Let us now continue. Sorry about that, slides. Develop a hiring strategy. That's where we are now, right? Okay. How many of you have a hiring strategy? Maybe you don't have it written down, but after today, you should have it written down. Let me just double check where I am. All right. Building an employer brand. Okay, fine. We're at building an employer brand. All right. You might think that I have so many things on my plate. Why build a strong employer brand? I don't really have time for that. But high quality candidates are motivated to apply for positions in your organization based on what they see in the mainstream media and on social media, believe it or not. Once someone sees a job ad, guaranteed they're going to type in the company name in Google and see what comes up about the company. Because you have to do your research as a candidate. You can't go into the interview blind. You do your research. If what is out there on your company is not positive, chances are that good candidate might not want to come over to work with you. Also, if you have positive employer brand, it can also boost retention. Your current employees will say, boy, you know, my company is so good. Yeah, check them out on their site, you know, and follow them on social media. They're doing so well. It helps, and also either through public posts, like your company posts things, or when your managers are invited to conferences to speak, it helps it helps to give recognition to your company. It helps people to see that, wow, this company is here and is doing very well. No matter what stage your company is in, remember we spoke about the life cycle. When scaling your hiring process, you should never forget that you represent the company in the eyes of the candidate. So how you treat that candidate, it speaks volumes about your company. You advertise your company, you sell it, you create a candidate experience that the candidate says, wow, I have to tell everybody about this company. I was treated so very well. One candidate said to me what she remembered about her interview with a company I was with is that when she came in, I asked her if she wanted coffee, tea, juice, if she wanted anything to refresh herself before the interview. Simple things like that. Do you offer coffee, tea, juice, water to your candidates? You are the face of the company's employer brand, business owners, managers, during the sourcing process. And if you don't make the candidates feel welcome, it will not be a good impression on they will not have a good impression of your company. Find out what matters to candidates. Nowadays, candidates are asking, what are you doing in terms of corporate social responsibility? How does your company feel about certain issues? Right? These are things that matter to candidates. Take time to ask them what matters most to them and see if your company is in alignment with what matters most to them. After hiring the right candidate, you don't just stop there. You need to conduct regular satisfaction surveys to determine if they're happy with the choice made to come to work with you. In many cases, it isn't the salary alone that attracts candidates to the position, but also many perks of the job, the benefits of the job. Nowadays, everybody is talking about flexibility, work-life balance, working from home, right? Or working from anywhere. Do you offer that? Can your organization offer that? People are attracted to those things. How do you develop a hiring strategy now? Before we go on to hiring strategy, any questions on your employer brand? Who are you as a company? Why would people want to work for you? Would you? Okay, question is, would you hire a person who was laid off for 120 days but not required to work because he or she thinks the layoff time was drastic. The layoff time is in the labor laws. I mean, thinking it's too drastic, really? You're having an issue with the law? Would you hire a person? All right, so if the person was laid off and it's in day 90, let's say, did not return to work, and the person wants another job, is qualified, applied, I don't see why not hire the person, but whatever the person thinks is neither here nor there, actually. It's in the labor law, so whatever your opinion is of it, it doesn't really matter. Philippa, hope that answered you. All right, Andre is asking, what are good affordable benefits a company can offer to attract persons? All right, good. So on this slide we have insurance. You have health insurance if you're a big enough company, or let's say if you have 20 staff, then 20 persons working with you. The employee portion, the amount you pay for the employee can be like $7,000 or so. You have to check with Sagicor, Canopy, Guardian Life, those health insurance companies. But health insurance is very important. Health and wellness is important. Life insurance, some of them have the life insurance component, important as well. Pension. For pension, you as a company don't have to contribute if it's an individual retirement plan. Many of the financial institutions offer the individual retirement plan, NCB, GMB, that you as an employer don't necessarily have to contribute to it. It would be good if you can contribute to it, but with the individual retirement plan, you don't have to. Allowances, lunch allowance, lunch subsidy is good, specifically a startup, yes. Health insurance, life insurance, pension, look at that. Pension plan, you don't have to contribute to it, but it's good to have it. When you're a bigger company, you might consider lunch subsidy, not paying for the entire lunch here. Subsidy means a little portion of the lunch amount that you're covering. Yes, so as a startup, we can stop there. Those are the basics for a startup. Okay, okay, so Andre, those are the basics. Julian, due to hiring mistakes that you have that may have damaged your brand, how do you regain or build back your brand in a good light, especially on social media? All right, so do good things. If there's a golden age home, carry goodies for the golden age home. Just make sure that your good outweighs the bad. Corporate social responsibility is always a good way to show the world that you care. Find a cause that you care about and just highlight it on social media. Every good thing that you do, highlight it. A picture with a short caption helps. For small businesses without an HR team or consultant, how do you manage the line between owner-staff relationship and provide an objective space for staff? Sarika, we'll learn further on in our discussion, but if you don't have an HR team or a consultant and you're expanding, it's good to have, if you have an administrative assistant who has HR experience, that person can act as the HR, but a consultant is good to have. A consultant who will work with your budget is good to have, because that person can be seen as external, yet understanding the company, and staff will feel more comfortable going to an external person as opposed to coming to you, the owner, with an issue. So if you have an admin person who understands HR, fine. If not, please speak to an HR consultant. You can speak to me, Sarika. We have spoken before. I'll work out something for you and your team, but it's important to have some HR person. your team can feel taken care of. Good morning. Can a 14, 15, 16, or 17-year-old work legally in Jamaica? If yes, how many hours can each year work according to the law? All right. What I know is for 14, 15, 16-year-olds, summer employment seems to be okay. To work permanently, my advice is to stick to the 18-year-olds and over. Yes, I've heard about 17-year-olds, but stick to 18-year-old and over adults. But for summer employment, you can, yes, go to 14, 15, 16-year-olds, but please try not to employ them permanently. That's my advice, Gina. All right, thank you, good. So let us move on from building an employer brand. We know how to do it, do good, put it on social media, blow your own horn, nothing wrong with that when you are building your employer brand. Develop a hiring strategy. Now we're into the meat of the matter. A strategic plan of action is critical to properly fulfilling the staffing needs you have and the desires that you have for your business to grow. Focus is necessary on several proven elements in this recruitment process, and you might need to write this down. Create and develop a strong hiring strategy. Avoid doing it yourself for critical roles. This is where the HR consultants and headhunters, recruiters come in. Focus on hiring the right fit. We spoke about that before. Consider your unique hiring challenges. Every business has challenges and they're unique to your business, and use successful retention strategies. For the hiring strategy, please take a close look at your business needs, the needs of your business, as well as your goals and objectives. You need a strong hiring strategy to build an engaged workforce that will give your business a competitive advantage. Write it down. Nothing wrong with writing it down or typing it up. What does your business look like today? What is your mission and your vision? Where do you want to be? And the gap in between is, how do I get there? What types of people do I need? For example, identify what are your long-term plans for expansion and critical roles. What skills and experience are must-have? You must have these skills in order to take you to that level. And if you have positions already and you have people already with skills, can those people take on additional work? Do they have the skills to take on additional work to take it to the next level? If not, you need to hire. So look at your business, where it is now, where you need to go. Each business is different. This is just a general comment. See what skills you need to take you there. Determine your hiring needs. So you want to expand your business. Well, how quickly do you really need to expand, and how many employees do you need to accomplish this? Good example is you want 10 other locations in the next year and a team of 15 employees for each location. Is that realistic? Could you accomplish whatever you want to accomplish with just 8 locations and 12 employees per location? Something to think about. Avoid do-it-yourself recruiting for critical roles. If you want, say, a chief financial officer, and you say, oh, I'm just gonna place an ad in the newspaper and wait for people to apply. Try it. I'm not saying don't try it. Try it and see what results you get. If you don't get the results you want, you might consider asking an expert, an HR consultant, headhunter, recruiter for help. It's a critical role in your organization. You might not know many chief financial officers who want to come over to work with you. You might not have many friends who have those skills. Seek help for critical roles especially. Focus on hiring the right fit. Interview and hire not just for someone with experience, education, but also the right fit for you, your organization, someone who you can get along with, someone who you can get along well with. The best fit includes a combination of skills, industry experience, team synergy, industry passion, a harmonious personality. Some people just rub you the wrong way when you meet them. Don't hide your feelings. Don't go against your gut instinct. Go with it. If you're not feeling the person, don't force yourself to hire them. Have a structured hiring process with an effective interview process. So you can hire the right fit. And when you hire the right fit, you need to retain that right fit. Different businesses have different hiring challenges, which we've said before. So adapt to your hiring challenges. Understand them. And when companies grow faster than anticipated, hiring needs can arise out of nowhere. Tomorrow you can realize that, oh my, I didn't hire. One thing that usually happens is companies start up and they hire, do their own hiring and everything. And then there's a point when they realize, oh, we don't have an HR person. HR should be one of the first people on your team. If you do not have an HR person on your team, speak to me and let me tell you why it's so important. After a long while, I say, oh, we need HR. And then they carrying HR to clean up all the mess. Staff took them to the Ministry of Labor and they have 4 or 5 cases pending. They need HR now. Now is the time you need HR. No, you need HR from the very beginning. The only way to go about the hiring, effective hiring, is to create a personalized, rapid hiring strategy. Speaking about that a little bit later when we come on to headhunting and so on. Now that you have these ideal candidates on your team, the team for your dream, you need to retain them. You need to allow them to work, do the work that you hired them for. The days of micromanagement are gone. Do not stand over their backs, breathing down their necks every day. Where are we with that? Have you finished this yet? Have you started this yet? How far are you with? No. If you want to retain talent, don't micromanage. Keep employees engaged in their job, excited about the company. Let them share the vision and the passion that you have. Take care of them, and they will take care of you. Pausing again for anything about, okay, let's go to the chat now. How many hours can they work during the summer days? I haven't seen anything about the hours. However, normally it's 40 hours per week. Overtime pay would trip in after that. 40 hours a week is what I know. I think below 17-year-olds, the work hours are limited to 20 hours. Okay. Limited to 20 hours. If you can send me a screenshot of that, Sarika, if you can email me where you saw that, about 20 hours, then that would be fine. That would be fine. Haven't seen it anywhere. Anything about 15-year-olds, right? So the 15-year-old will be in the under 17. And I would recommend only summer jobs for those persons. Light work, okay, no more than 14 hours a week, fine. 20 hours max. Don't have any problem with that. What causes a high turnover rate for companies? Is it that they didn't hire the right fit? That could be one reason. Yes, many reasons for high turnover. Number one, salary. Sometimes they pay the minimum wage. Whatever the minimum wage is, the workers are paid exactly that, not $1 more. So salary, working environment, not necessarily the physical office, but the people you're working with. Some companies have this culture of aggressiveness. You're just aggressive and angry all the time, and you can't get along with people like that. So you want to leave. If you're disrespected, management speaks to you anyhow, you want to leave. Managers want you to work 18 hours a day, right? No work-life balance, so you leave. So it's not just that you didn't hire the right fit. Sometimes you hire the right fit and the right fit is frustrated because of what's happening in the company, and the right fit walks out the door. How should potential employees view companies that have a high turnover rate? Traditionally, job seekers have avoided those companies because something must be wrong. Once they hear that, hey, this place, people don't stay there enough, something must be wrong, I'm not going there to work. I wouldn't advise people to just knowingly go. There must be something wrong. So find out what is wrong. And if you can't handle that, do not go. That's why it's so important to have a positive employer brand. You're welcome. All right. The hiring process now, hiring to scale. The importance of a great team. Growing a team requires dedicated effort by team leaders to identify, recruit. You're going to hire the best candidates, and you want the best of the best for your team. You need a well-designed hiring process that channels this effort to yield the results you want, which is great hires. Company culture is important. In the early days, the founders and the early employees formed the culture. If you hire poorly, or worse, hiring poorly, meaning hiring someone who doesn't fit in with your culture, is worse than not hiring at all. See why hiring the right person is so important? Where do you get these people though? The hiring process starts with referrals. You get candidates, applications through referrals, sourcing. You hire someone to source for you, or just applications that come in randomly. Someone just sees the name of your company, wants a job, sends an email with a resume, or drops off the resume at your office. When you get all those resumes, you shortlist based on the job description that has the requirements of the role, education, experience. Look at the resumes, shortlist. You come down to, let's say, 5 good resumes. You interview those 5 persons, you make your hiring decision, conduct your reference check, and this is where you'll find out if the person stole something or walked off the job. Then you decide if you're going to give that person a chance or not. Make the offer, you have your onboarding. Offboarding is there, but we don't want to offboard the right candidates, right? We want to retain good people. So we won't even talk about offboarding right now. Finding candidates. As discussed, we find candidates from people who apply directly to the company. If you have a website and you have a career section, you might get resumes that way. If you place a job advertisement, applicants reply. Referrals, recruiters, or headhunters. Unsolicited applications. We spoke about applying via the company's website. This method is not effective for most small companies as they are unlikely to be known by many qualified applicants. Qualified applicants have never heard of that company. You're not likely to apply. There are techniques that can help raise awareness of a new company, such as advertising on job sites, such as Talent Box Caribbean. That's what I use. My business associate owns that one. I use that regularly. Or getting mentioned in the press. right? Some ways that you can get your name out there, as well as social media. We spoke about corporate social responsibility. Get your name out there that way. Referrals, very important. While getting a referral from your employees is an often overlooked best practice, and it is a best practice. An employee knows the work environment. That's why it's a best practice. That person is working with you already, knows the work environment, is familiar with the culture, and can determine whether that person whom he or she knows would fit in with the culture. Ideally, this is someone the referrer has worked with in the past. If that person worked with the candidate in the past, your employee can say, well, yes, I worked with her in the past at so-and-so company, and she was such a good accountant or such a good customer service rep. The referrer would know the qualifications of the person, talents, and values. Referrals have so many advantages over other channels, but there are a few things you need to be mindful of. The most effective method for finding new candidates is through referrals. A referral means that not only your current employees, we spoke about current employees, but also friends of the company, advisors, investors, board members can help you to identify potential candidates from their existing networks. If you get referrals from your current staff, it will lessen your chances of hiring the wrong person, because current staff don't want anyone who will embarrass them. They'll come and fail and embarrass them. They're not going to want that. So they're going to want to refer or recommend the best. Plus, when you hire referrals, you can build trust between you and your employees. Any questions on hiring from referrals? Have you been doing that? Any? Okay, the name of the website is Talent Box. Let me see if I can put it here. Talent Box. I have some jobs on it right now. Caribbean.com. All right. See if you can. All right. All right, so I find that there is a gap between expectation and the reality of the workforce. What kind of gap is there? Sarika, elaborate on that for me. Expectation and the workforce. We expect them to be what we want, and they're just not the best out there. Elaborate for me, please, Sarika. And you can unmute and let me know. This is a discussion, so we can talk.
Yeah, man. I would have to unmute her.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right, so go ahead, Sarika. What's the gap you're finding?
Hi. There are several. I find that, well, what I've experienced and what I've heard other persons experience is that there's a gap between like university students that are coming into the workforce. They have a different expectation from even high school students, and a number of my counterparts, they've even, ramp up their recruitment from high school rather than university. There's a wage gap in terms of what they're expecting in terms of salary in relation to their degree. So you find that a lot of persons will come in with a degree and they're expecting a certain amount of money, right? But then they're not able to contribute at the level of that money, because what you find is that they come in and they don't understand that they actually have zero experience. And so they're expected, a particular salary when they come in. And what you find sometimes that you do explain that to them in the interview, they do accept the salary. But then when they come into the workspace now, and you find that persons will accept the salary, but then they come and they're still complain about the salary that they have accepted. That is one challenge. And two, I find that there is a gap in terms of translating what they learned in school to the work environment. For some reason, I believe that they to some extent, they view the job as a training ground and not an area for them to actually utilize what they have learned. So what I've experienced is that they come looking for actual, training in areas that you actually hire them to be executing in. So if I hire someone from a university who has an accounting degree, I expect them to know debit and credit. That's standard. And then you find that they'll come in the workforce and they'll have a challenge. And we try to give them the space to do it. I say, listen, Google it, read a book. It's fine. I understand that you're not going to remember everything. But that to me is one of my major challenges, in that there's a gap in terms of converting what they learned in school, particularly I find it from university. And I don't know if it's a case where I expect less from high school students, and I find that they actually give me more. And I guess because there's a gap as well, because I've expected a little bit more from university students, and you find that they may operate on the same level or even to a lesser standard than even high school students. And I think it is actually that mental block, that gap between expectation and reality.
Boy, good point, because I've had candidates ask me, will training be provided? And they have a degree in the area and asking me if training will be provided. Yes, on the job, you can train them how to do it your way, but they should know how to do whatever it is you're hiring them to do. I agree. But there is an opportunity now, and I saw that there's a big gap. And that's why I have an HR internship program, because there was this complaint from the business community that the HR people who graduate with the HR degree, they don't really have the experience in HR. So I provide the on-the-job training. When they get a real job afterwards, they should be able to function. But I am not sure about the internship program for other professions like accounting. I know there might be something there for people in accounting, an internship program, but it is so important to bridge that gap between the theory that you learn in university and practical, and internship is the way to go. That's what I think. So if companies out there would want to offer internship programs, please, that would help the business community quite a bit. All right, so the chat is lighting up now. Let's see. They assume that a degree without experience entitles them to average industry salaries. Yes, that's true. Somebody told them that once you have the degree, you shouldn't work for less than $120,000 per month. That's a figure that I've heard. Somebody told them that. So if you're offering $80,000 a month, I have my degree, even though they don't know what they're doing, are still looking. Yes, gap aside, the quality and abilities in the available workforce seems to be lacking, especially in agriculture. Agriculture, significant challenges I find. All right, so for agriculture, Jason, what about case? Cases there, case graduates are okay, or is there an issue? As I've had prospective clients who ask me for resumes for farmers, or I have a new client who has a farm. So I want to know, Jason, what's your experience? Help me with that one. You can unmute and help me. It's a discussion.
Should I unmute? Sorry.
Oh, you can unmute Jason Gordon.
Okay.
Sorry. Jason, where do we find good agricultural candidates now?
Okay, you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. That's a very good question. We we are involved, and yes, the persons who we seek tend to be those more at the lower end of the scale, where a lot of physical labor is required. However, there are certain procedural activities that are a must, and it requires a little numeracy and literacy. And these are some of the simple things that are lacking. Following directions correctly, asking questions, basic things like asking questions to clarify exactly what is needed. And what I found is we've tried many places, CASE, we've tried Artros NTA. Referrals have been very useful. And most of the referrals have come from the industry. The challenge is that you have persons coming in from other locations with their practices, some good, some bad. So oftentimes it perpetuates stuff like that. The CASE graduates, as the other participants have mentioned, they are interested in huge salaries, and there is this expectation that once I do complete a degree, then at a minimum I must start at X amount. Now, I'm a graduate of the University of the West Indies, and when I left with degree, I learned quite a bit at the university. The work world is cheese and chalk. You're talking about theory compared to actually getting stuff done and seeing how things work. So until persons realize what reality is, that a degree does not guarantee big money, then we're in trouble. But from an agricultural point of view, we have to be on-the-job training. You mentioned hiring for the right fit, and a lot of that depends on work ethic. A lot of that depends on your culture, getting things done right, getting things done a certain way. So you have to be on the ground working with them. You have to be hovering over them, because if you go missing, someone else goes missing. So you're paying somebody for 7 hours, 8 hours, whatever, and they're working 3 hours, 4 hours. It's just untenable experience to the persons out of ebony to a minimum level. Some of the expectations we have can be met because of that training. And that is our push now, trying to get more graduates at that level and see how best it can work. But it has been a challenge. And for me personally, the work ethic, our recent experiences, especially younger men, 20s, early 20s, these guys,
it seems as if Jason,
yes.
You see them out. And when you miss them, they're sitting down and foolishness like that. Turns up what is available. Not only that.
Some real challenges there. But Jason spoke about not following directions correctly and not asking the right questions. But this seems like common sense. Follow directions. If somebody says two ounces of something, then you just throw it in there and mix it up. How hard can that be? But yes, it's a real issue. Simple things like following directions. These graduates can't do it. Thanks so much, Jason, for your input. Gavin said they've never reconciled an actual bank statement. Yes, true. Or written a check. Yes. But they want $3 million or more salary. Suzanne Muir has her hand up. Yes, Suzanne? You may unmute, Suzanne.
I was trying to unmute, but it didn't unmute right away.
Yeah, yes.
You had not granted me permission as yet. So 2 things. Besides a remark, I teach at a university. And I can tell you why university students can't follow instructions, because a lot of them won't even follow instructions in exams that are for their grade. So, so a lot of them are not doing it. So it's not a shock that some of them are not doing it because they don't do it at university. You know, they're expected to look at the handbook and they come like babies for other people to guide them because they want to go through the work of being an adult and looking at things for themselves. Anyway, but that's not why I asked to be unmuted. I was wondering, I didn't hear the whole presentation this morning.
Mhm.
Could you tell me the trade-offs between hiring somebody full-time versus say online via like Fiverr or Upwork?
Okay.
The pros and the cons, if you're able to address that, please and thanks.
Yes, I'm familiar with Upwork and Fiverr. Yes. All right. Hiring somebody full-time. So
Or even
if you want to hire someone full-time, it's not just the salary that you have to think of. Often it's the cost of benefits as well, right? On Fiverr or Upwork, you pay like $5 or 20 or 25 US, and you get whatever you want done. However, it's usually not a long-term relationship with this Fiverr or Upwork person. You might give that person something to do and you can't find them after a while. They're not finished with the work. You wasted some money there. That's a major drawback. Also, your company culture, if you're a total work from home company, then you might not have much of a culture. So you don't have to think about that. You just want whatever you want done. But if it's not something like you just have some tasks and you want them done, but you want to build a company and have the feeling of camaraderie and build a team for your dream, then Upwork and Fiverr is not the way to go. There are advantages, yes, but disadvantages as well.
Joni, I noticed that a lot of persons are saying that the universities are really not preparing the students as they ought to. But I want to think it's more of an education system problem. And it could possibly even start from the home. Because if our mindsets, I remember when I was going to high school all those years ago, I was not told about entrepreneurship as an opportunity. You are taught to get your subjects and go look at work.
Yeah.
Right? That is what you were taught then. It is only now that these non-traditional careers, the animators, the illustrators, the content creators, that these are the kinds of things that are coming to the fore. So what probably needs to happen is a total overhaul of the system that changes the students' mindsets or the new employees' mindsets when they come into an organization, to understand that when you come in with your first degree, you are entry level,
yes.
which means that the big 5 million salary that you're expecting, you're not going to get it because you are not yet there. And that does not happen. It does not happen. You cannot just leave university and expect a $5 million salary. It's not going to happen. Neither in this world nor the next.
Somebody is telling them that.
Well, somebody needs to stop telling them that. Anyway, go ahead and respond to the rest of comments.
All right, good. So some good comments in the chat. All right, so I'm going to share my email address after. I have it on a slide actually. Lack of practical experience training is a must. But there is a comment about internships. Some of them are not long enough. That is true. There are 6 weeks internships, but there are also 1 year or 2 year internships. And I know one of our public sector executive agencies, they have an internship program for IT professionals for 2 years. So for the first year, you're observed and everything, and then they decide whether or not to take you on for the second year. So 2 years, internships range from 6 weeks to 2 years. Okay, all right, so
there's another hand up in the chat. Narisha Murray Graham, you want to just take that one before you move on?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Narisha.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Great session thus far. I just want to make a comment. I do both business on the side, but I also work full time. I'm in supply chain and logistics, and I can tell you, even with internship, a field that is budding and ripe for expansion.
Yes.
I struggle to find proper or qualified, or even people with experience, if you will, in terms of simple area of procurement or warehousing, and that type of a thing.
Maybe shall have some resumes I can share with you afterwards. I'll
All
send
right, fine. I'll gladly take them. Thank you for that. And it just takes me to this whole thing of preparation. The internship from what they call it now, maritime, is about 3 weeks.
I know, but sometimes they stay on a little longer depending on the company.
Yeah, so I mean that's a real challenge. But if you say you have resume, and we can talk about it separately, because
Yeah, man,
I think I've been trying to fill a position for the last 1.5 to 2 years.
All right, so that's why sessions like these are good, right?
Yes.
So let us talk after.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, so I feel places like Hermage can help the schools and universities to bridge the gap. Yes, okay. So Rika, I am going to suggest that to Hermage, that some of us HR practitioners get this internship program on the way, taking these university students, well, graduates, let them know that we're giving them on-the-job training, and their stipend will be not 3 million or 5 million, but whatever it will be, and this is your training. You're gonna learn on the job. Very good comment. All right, what is the daily rate for days workers? I've heard from 2,000 Jamaican dollars a day to $7,000 a day. One helper, she charged $7,000 for the day, but she did a good job. So daily rate depends on the person, right? But I've heard from 2,000 to 7,000.
All right, Sarita has a question.
Oh, she does? Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, it was a quick comment / question to get your feedback. Yeah. So when I think about persons, or I guess what they call the millennials, right?
Millennials are now 40 years old here.
Yes, that's exactly. So like for me and probably, you know, some of the other persons here, we did limited internships. I don't remember doing a 1-year internship. I did an internship for probably 4 weeks when I was in high school. I did none in university. But so saying this to say that I'm not sure if it is really only the internship that is the issue, because there's actually a generational gap as it relates to how we function in the workforce. You find that not only generational gap, but also background. You find that persons who are from a particular background tends to be more committed, tends to be a little bit more hardworking, tend to, you know, probably understand a little bit more as opposed to persons from other background. But then for the masses, I don't think it's really 100% or even largely has to do with internship, which can help. But there is something happening, as I said, somewhere in the school, somewhere in university, somewhere in high school, maybe in the home, that is preventing persons from having probably a good reality check of what you're walking into, right? So the internship is one, you know, which really teaches you, okay, how to function in terms of, okay, I would think, you know, how to, you know, manage research on your own, you know, use your initiative, follow instructions, which is good. But in addition to that, there is some mentality. There's a mentality out there that also needs to shift. And that is what I'm saying, that places like the Human Resource Association, you know, the universities and so on need to, and I don't think it should be isolated. I think even places like JBDC, you know, can, you know, come together and report these findings, because I don't see it being reported. A lot of people complain about it, but it's not reported, which means that nothing is being done about it, whether at a high school or university level. So I think the last workforce report that I saw was from the 80s. And I haven't seen any recently for us and the schools to be guiding accordingly. And that's what I'm suggesting, that, you know, persons like yourself and the other institutions who are responsible for that can actually push for something like that because there's a huge shift and it's affecting productivity and the workforce overall.
Wow. Boy, that seems like a bigger problem than us, man. That's a societal problem. Wow. All right. Thank you very much, Sarika. All right. The beta said employment of persons on a project by project basis. How do classify this type of employment project and what are their benefits? Should they take care of their taxes? Okay. So independent contractors who are hired just for a project, yes, they should take care of their own taxes. They should file their own taxes. They pay their own taxes, statutory deductions, yes. So we'd classify them as independent contractors. The contract would say you're hired to work on this project from April to June, and you're responsible for paying your own taxes, yes. All right. Internships require dedication of time and resources. Yes, that's true. Oftentimes, accounting interns end up doing filing or processing invoices, which is not the purpose of the internship. You're so right. They give them all sorts of backlog work to do, filing especially, hardly what we need to be paying a university or account. Yes, yes, I know that. I know that. For internships, sometimes they end up filing. All right. Garitha, I have a vacancy for senior accounting finance post that need resumes. Welcome. Yes, Garitha, write down my email address too. I am currently recruiting for a finance manager for another organization. So I do have fresh resumes. Garitha, thank you. Andre, we seem to have a common problem of hiring staff to carry out long-term roles for salaries and startups can afford. Is there a pool of trainable entry-level persons available locally? Yes, Heart Trust has some. I've used Heart Trust, UE and UTech. I do get entry-level persons from there as well. They are comparing salaries to their counterparts in first world economies like the US. Yes, they go online and look about what they type in accounting officer salary, and they say the US how much $1,000 figure come up. All right, so human resources. Thank you so much. All right, that's it for the chat. So very good discussion. Let's go back now to our presentation. We spoke about referrals, outsourcing recruitment now. Business owners, you cannot do everything on your own. You need help sometimes. Effective outsourcing of recruitment efforts can help your fast-growing company avoid the problem of hasty hiring decisions. And that's a common problem in growing companies. Instead of using rapid expansion as an excuse to hire inferior talent, rely on outsourced recruiters to fill any immediate talent demands. This will help you free up resources and increase your productivity by delegating the task of sifting through hundreds of resumes. For example, I posted an ad for customer service representative a few years ago, and in the first day, I got like 480 resumes. Can you imagine you as a business owner sitting and going through 480 resumes? You don't know, you don't need to be doing that with your time. Interviewing the top 20 and narrowing it down to 5 and interviewing again and disqualifying numerous candidates. That's something you can outsource. How do you know when to outsource though? If a company experiences sudden growth, it needs to be able to scale productivity to meet the demands of their clients and customers. This often means more skilled staff are required, but there is only so much a 2-person recruitment team, you and your assistant can handle. right? In the beginning, sourcing might be handled by the founders of the company, other senior leaders. You might reach out to your network and get staff. And then scheduling interviews might be done by your office manager or your admin. But when you are scaling, you might need to consider having a headhunter for senior roles or a recruiter for the other roles. Those persons will do the actual sourcing work for you, approach the candidates through LinkedIn or other means. I like using LinkedIn, approach candidates and talk to them about your job, get their resumes, do the preliminary interviews. You take all of that off your plate. For roles with titles held by only one person, like VP of product, let's say, it makes sense to hire an external recruiter to get that VP level and C-suite level. If the position is relatively senior, consider that, using an external recruiter. Sourcing is a proactive recruiting technique in which you search the social networks, especially LinkedIn, and other sites for potential candidates, and then you contact them directly. This takes time, and you might contact 10, and 2 out of the 10 say yes, they're interested. So yeah, you have to be good at accepting rejection as well. This can be done internally by dedicating recruiters or hiring managers if your company is big enough. But if your company is not big enough to have these dedicated resources to go on LinkedIn and meet people virtually, then you need a contractor, external contractor, or a headhunter. I offer those services, so we can talk afterwards. This is some hiring advice for you. Let me look in the chat again. Agreed. Okay. I have used Heart Trust system. Candidates are not at the expected standard. I have heard that complaint about the Heart Trust. And another complaint is when you ask for resumes, they take forever to respond. Don't know if you had that experience, but I have. However, it is there as a resource. UE and UTech are very quick to respond to me when I ask for assistance, the placement centers, so you can try them as well. As well as me, now you know me, you have me as a resource. You can use me as much as you want. All right, so some hiring advice now. Apart from the hiring to scaling up your team, all that we've spoken before, we're going to talk about some other things. So when you have a new company, start from the top, hiring your managers, and then work your way down. That's one tip. If you have more skilled, more experienced, and better leaders in place who fit your culture that you want to create, they will be able to make their own hiring decisions. They can do the hiring for their team. So you have your operations manager, let's say, finance manager. Those managers can hire people for their team, free up some of your time. You'll be able to trust their judgment as they expand their own teams. You also won't get overwhelmed with hiring decisions, meaning you'll likely make fewer compromises in the long run. You can make sure your hires end up as a better culture fit by spending more time on the onboarding process and training. Yes, you need to hire people who can hit the ground running, but you also need to have an onboarding process. When they come in, first day on the job, what should their day look like? There's actually an Excel spreadsheet that I created with the schedule. Monday, 9 a.m., meet with HR, sign forms, fill out documents. 10 o'clock, meet with CEO, get an overview of the company. 11 o'clock, meet with operations manager. 12 o'clock, lunch. That is how detailed the onboarding schedule is. Training is Tuesday between 9 and 12, you're going to learn about so-and-so on the job training. You need to invest your time in that first week or that first month of onboarding. Invest in each new candidate and provide them with all the education resources, everything that they need to be successful. Okay, so what you put in is what you get out. Keep your company culture intact is another piece of advice. Before starting to expand, you'll probably establish a strong startup company culture. You know what your culture is, what you want your team to look like, feel, experience in your company every day. Your company culture is who you are. It's important to keep that intact as your company expands. How do you do this during a growth period? First, you hire employees based on their skills, not just the skills, but also the fit. We spoke about how they fit in with your team. Secondly, put your company values front and center. Does your company have values? Can you name 3 values that your company has? If you can't, you need to get some values and stand behind them. It's important to maintain company traditions as you grow as well. This will help keep the company spirit that you had at the start alive. Expand who you're willing to hire. So think about it. We spoke about Fiverr and Upwork. You might want to, for projects of short duration, consider looking elsewhere, not just in Jamaica, but go on these sites and get people from all over the world to do what you want them to do. Nothing is wrong with that. Expanding the people you're willing to consider for hire is beneficial. Consider hiring independent contractors. We spoke about the independent contractor who would come on for 2 months or 3 months, responsible for their own taxes. A broader potential talent pool means you have access to people from more backgrounds with more diverse experiences and possibly lower costs, because you don't have to pay these people any allowances. You don't have to pay any health insurance for them. Think about hiring someone from another country. If you have a senior role, and this will cost money, but you might benefit in the long run. If you have a senior role and you need someone from, say, India to fill that role, which is something I'm doing for a client right now. The money you invest upfront, hopefully, will pay off in the long run, because that person will have the skills you need, even though the person is not from your country. You might need to make a hefty investment upfront, but in the long run, because you're growing, you're expanding, you know where you want to get to in the future, you might need to consider that. You may also decide to go fully remote, so you can hire people around the country. You can hire people from St. Anne. They can do call center type activities or admin work. Yeah, you're in Kingston, but you hire from Mandeville. No problem with that, as long as the person has the necessary equipment to do the job. Another piece of hiring advice: figure out the best recruitment method for your business. Is it social media recruiting? Are you going to place an ad on LinkedIn or on Instagram? Facebook now is allowing you to advertise only as a post, which is so unfortunate. I used to love using Facebook jobs, but they've changed that now. Some positions lend themselves better to LinkedIn. I had that struggle, and this morning, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you will see my struggle and my latest post. I am hiring for positions such as welder, mechanic, mason for a particular client. I advertised on Facebook, as I usually do for those types of positions. But then someone in my LinkedIn network said he got his welder or something, mechanic, something on LinkedIn. I said, okay, let me try. So I posted this morning on LinkedIn for those positions that I don't usually post there. I'm trying it out to see what will happen. Usually I reserve LinkedIn for senior positions and use Facebook for like servers, waiters, housekeeper, cook, mechanic, electrician. So let's see how it goes. Provide a competitive salary. Hiring managers, business owners, please, if you can afford to pay a little bit above the minimum wage and beyond, please do so. Job seekers, look at the salary, even though salary isn't the only thing, but please don't be known to be the company that pays the least in the market. Provide a competitive salary and opportunities for personal and professional growth within your business. What other benefits are there to working at your company that may attract good professional talent? Do you have gym membership subsidy? What else is there that will attract the best? Another piece of advice is to establish a training budget and procedures to develop and enhance your employees' skills and knowledge. Training doesn't need to be expensive nowadays because you have online courses through Coursera, Allison, Skillshare, HubSpot, online courses that you can do for free. LinkedIn Learning has online courses as well. That's if you subscribe to premium. So please, training is important. Have a training budget. If it's even say $100,000 for the year, but have something in the budget for training your staff. Establish a sound onboarding process. We spoke about the first week of employment, the first day. It should be structured. Don't just allow new employees to do as they please during the first week. Have a schedule for them. Have a hiring plan. A hiring plan should ideally include the following information: level of knowledge, areas of expertise and background you're looking for, the desired timeline for hiring. How soon do I need an accountant? How soon do I need a marketing person, a social media marketing officer? How soon do I need that person? Once your hiring needs are estimated and documented, please write them down. The future success of your hypergrowth business will have a strong foundation. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. All right, the chat is very quiet. All right, write down your questions. Let's continue. Define your positions clearly. Do you have a job description for each position? Do you have a job description? If you don't have a job description, do you at least have a list of duties the person should perform? And what education, level of education the person should have? Basic, something like that. Do you have that? Question in the chat. Are HR managers viewing candidates favorably to be hired if they have completed courses on online sites such as Allison, as you've mentioned? Yes, yes, I look at those because it shows, number one, the person was proactive and taking his or her professional development in their own hands. Number two, I know the quality of those training programs. They are facilitated by lecturers from Ivy League universities, usually. And you have an exam at the end. Most times, the quality is good. The quality of training you get is good, especially Coursera. Very good. Yes, I agree. Yes, that is true. So I look favorably on it, and business owners, just go on the sites and look. Just pick one course and do it, and you will see what I mean. If a candidate has Coursera, Allison, whatever certificates, LinkedIn Learning on their resume, I look favorably on that. And I advise my clients to do the same. All right, so we were on the job description part of it now. So define the position clearly. Once you define the position clearly and diligently, compile the information which can be reused for a job description publishing. You create a job ad from that. Sourcing, you send that to the headhunter. The job description should be shared later with people interviewing for the role. How many of us share the job description with the candidate even before the interview date? I try my best to let the candidate know exactly what they're getting into. I email the job description before the day of the interview. All right, so we're all on the same page. Job description is not a secret document. And if you need help in developing your job description, talk to me. I'll assist you with that as well. Any objections to sending the job description ahead of the interview? If anyone has any objections, you can type in the chat and let me know. What about hiring from within? You have a team of 5 already. Can someone in that team of 5 get a promotion even though you are a young business? A time of growth is always exciting for a new company. Your hard work is paying off, you're finally gaining traction, and it seems like the sky is the limit regarding your company's success. But as your company expands, it can be a stressful time as well. After all, you need to start the time-consuming hiring process in order to keep up with this exciting momentum. It's important that you ensure that your current staff grows with you. You have star employees who help to get your business the way where it is today. You can't leave them behind. Look at them, look at their skills. If it is possible to promote from within, do that first, and then you backfill. You get someone from outside to backfill in their position. If you hire someone for a position that your current employee can do, that employee will resent you, they'll hate you, and you will waste time training that newcomer from scratch. The person who is in the job will feel offended if you use them to train this new person. You see, all those things can be avoided if you look at your current team and promote from within. Recruiting from within is essential. It's showing your employees that advancement is possible. It's a small company, but you can still advance. And it's important to provide opportunities, incentives, and benefits to ensure that these dedicated employees that were there with you from day one remain with your company as it grows. The onboarding process. We spoke about onboarding and how important it is to document the process and make sure it runs smoothly. An effective onboarding process should include, these are the things you discuss from day one, right? Listen to them now. Basic legal information, company rules, regulations. If you have a code of conduct or an employee handbook, pick excerpts from the handbook and put it in a PowerPoint presentation then. Go through it, half an hour, go through it. Make sure your new hires know what is expected of them. Have a clear definition of the role and expectations. At this point, it's good to read through the job description. The hiring manager and the new employee read through the job description, agree, and sign off, physically sign the job description. There should be a place on your job descriptions for signatures. An introduction to company culture and organizational norms is important. You say, well, here we don't do this, or we do this way, or, explain who is who in the company. Give the new hire resources to help him or her establish relationships with co-workers. There's another practice, and it's a buddy system, like a learning partner system. pair new employees with exemplary persons who are in your organization already. And why I say exemplary is that some person with a bad attitude will influence the newcomer to have a bad attitude as well. You don't want that. So exemplary learning partners, important. And also have a process for training, right? And give them a written, a physical document that shows what their orientation schedule is like. So we've come to the end of the lecture part of it. You should by now be able to identify the stage your company is in, explain key principles in hiring, avoid hiring mistakes, develop a solid employer brand, and understand and explain the hiring process. Questions?
So while we get ready to accept those questions, so persons who have questions, please you can just start by dropping the rest of what you have in the chat. But this morning's presentation has been really, really rich. It's so much information, but it still never feels overwhelming. You know what I mean? So I really want to thank you, Joni-Gaye, for sharing with us this morning. And things were pretty clear as well. I wanted to go back to the first part of the presentation when you talked about persons who would, it's like they would leave the job abruptly. So for example, they walk up, it was a walk off the job situation. And I was thinking in case of employee disrespect, what the employee would say as disrespect.
Oh, so the employee was disrespectful?
Yes. Well, maybe the employee felt disrespected.
Oh yes, I've had a case like that. I actually have a case like that now, and she started working this week. So yes, she felt disrespected. She walked off the job, but I'm giving her a chance because of what she explained that she had to put up with, and decided no more, she's going to leave.
Right. Okay.
But that's me. I'm not saying that you should take a chance with anyone like that. I'm just saying I have decided right now consciously to give her a chance, and she's starting. No.
Okay, great. All right. No questions in the chat. All right. I think we have really run the clock today. It's been a while since we've been here until this time. So Joni-Gaye, really, really thank you for sharing this very rich presentation with us this morning. It was very informative. If you notice, everybody is still here, rapt attention.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. And
we're still here because
they wanted my email address and check out my website.
Please drop it in the chat for us. Type your email address in the chat so that persons will be able to make contact with you. I see a question coming up, serious question for a job vacancy post on FB that clearly states send an email address and persons type, I'm interested. How do HR managers really feel about that?
Okay, I just ignore. If they say I'm interested, I ignore. They have some other things to type in, like I want the job to help my mother. And they don't attach any resume or anything, you know. I have 4 children. Yes, I just...
Is that really a legitimate way? I mean, I know persons go on social media, and I've seen some of these ads advertising jobs, and I've seen that I'm interested, but do you get quality candidates from those? I'm not talking about LinkedIn now, because we know that's what LinkedIn is established for, but Facebook and those others, do you get any legitimate interest?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
You do, but for certain positions. So I advertised for a psychologist on Facebook, 0 applications. I advertised for cook and a waiter, and it's like 200 applications. And yes, I was able to get a few of them. Yes.
Okay, great. All right, just seeing some other things coming in. Very good session, time well spent. I also see Sarika sharing the child,
yes,
the regulations to the Occupational Safety and Health Act as it relates to employing youngsters. So bear those in mind. There are certain regulations in terms of the number of hours that you can employ. Personally, I don't think children should get started thinking about jobs until about 16. But that's just me. But it is addressed in the law. And another person is saying, thank you for this very informative session. So I think we all agree this session was definitely worth it this morning. Thank you, Joni-Gaye, for taking time out. I know what is a busy schedule to share with us this morning. We will certainly call upon you again, maybe in a full training capacity, because this seems as if it's a conversation that needs to be extended so that we can really ventilate the issues as to how we really select the teams that we need. And remember, everyone, right fit, culture is very important. Somebody can be very well experienced and educated, but then just don't fit. The fit is also very important. So thank you again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone, and thank you for joining us.